First, we begin each commission meeting with a safety briefing in the event of an emergency. We are located here at 100 West Anderson Street in the commission chambers on the 7th floor. We have 3 emergency exits. We have one to the front of the room, one in the middle, and one to the rear. And we can exit out of either of those doors should we have an emergency. Our gathering point for this group will be down the stairs at either end of the hallway, all the way down to the first floor, and we will gather near the 408 exit ramp. So we call that the back of the building, or rather it feels like the back, but it's actually the front of the building, should we need to evacuate. We have an AED, a first aid kit, fire extinguisher in case of an emergency. Should we have the need for emergency services, Carlos Whitty will be my backup, and Letitia Thompson will dial 911. And our security will assist any emergency personnel up to the 7th floor. That concludes the safety moment for today. Thank you.
Thank you. And now we're going to have our moment of reflection by Mr. Pete Westlake.
Well, good afternoon, President Mills, Commissioners, Mayor Dyer, Clint. Boy, I cannot believe that it's March already. And isn't this fabulous weather? It's kind of challenging, though, to think about global warming with this kind of weather. The North has been hit with devastating snowstorms. Although our weather may not be considered cold, this is speaking as a Canadian, and I've tent camped in minus 25 degrees Celsius, so cold is a much different beast. It's certainly unseasonably cool. I like to see it as an opportunity to pull out my clothes that typically stay in the dresser for 11 and a half months and wear that stylish leather coat and smooth along the street there. And who knew you could get a form of snowball in Tallahassee or New Orleans? We should focus more on weather disruptions rather than categorize them solely as global warming. While the rising temperatures are a concern, it's equally important to note that weather has become more severe and more unpredictable, which is impacting, which is the impact of warming. Personally, I enjoy gardening, and I'm working on transforming our property in Lake Mary into an edible landscape. And in this endeavor, I find it quite telling that I now buy plants that are suited for Miami versus Central Florida. I avoid altogether things that are going into the northern territories for this climate. So what does this have to do with our current endeavors? Well, we're heading into storm season. Yes, I should say it. We're heading into storm season. It's just a few months away. And with such unpredictability, we must be prepared to address scenarios that we once considered remote possibilities. And we must witness, as we witness the increasing of severity of storms, we need to build in resilience and ensure that we can return to normalcy faster with less cost. So as we bid farewell to this brief spell of cooler weather and head into hotter summer days, we must consider how this impacts our planning and our community. So switching gears a little bit, did you know that this is Women's History Month? It celebrates women's contributions to history, culture, and society. And it would be hard to overlook the accomplishments of giants like Amelia Earhart, Marie Curie, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Rosa Parks, and most recently, Florida State Senator Geraldine Thompson, who regrettably just passed at the age of 76. Let's help celebrate their accomplishments. Lastly, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that March is also the time to honor our employees. March 7th is National Employee Appreciation Day, and we at OUC sincerely appreciate our staff. So as we reflect on the agenda, we wish all of us to have a safe and productive meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Pete. At this time, I'm going to ask Mr. Greg Ross to come forward and lead us in our Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Ross served in the U.S. Air Force for 8 years, achieving the rank of sergeant. He's worked at OUC for 5 years and is currently our Senior Employee Relations Specialist. Would you all please stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, and liberty and justice for all. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you for your service, Pete. The time is now 2:03, and I call the March 4th, 2025 Commission meeting to order. Proceeding now, I'd like to acknowledge that we do have a full quorum of commissioners present for this meeting. With that being said, then, our next item on the agenda is a consideration of the reviewed January 21st, 2025 Commission meeting minutes. I'll entertain a motion from one of our commissioners to waive the reading of the minutes and adopt them as published.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Gross and as well as a second from Gonzalez. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion passes. Service awards. At this time, Mr. Adams, will you provide the first service award for us? We have 3 today.
Good afternoon. I'd like to call Mr. Takaris T. McCormick to the front, please. And your family is welcome to join you if they would like to. Maybe not, I don't know. No?
At least stand and let us wave at you.
T is accompanied
There you go.
with his wife, Crystal, children Tavares, Takaris, Tobias and Tabari, which are twins, and then Takari, and then that's your grandmother, I believe. Yes, and his grandmother in the audience. So T started as a temporary contractor installing backflow devices for new construction. He applied for a permanent position with OUC and had an interview with, some of us may remember, Joe Chessa over in the water department. The interview was at 6 a.m. in the morning. T showed up for the interview at 5:30 a.m. And Joe said, "Hey, you know your interview is at 6 a.m. Why are you here so early?" T responded, "I'm here ready for work." And that's what he's been doing ever since. T started out in distribution as a distribution technician 2, distribution technician 1, then water meter technician 2, and finally a water meter technician 1. T is one of the most knowledgeable water meter technicians at OUC for all water meters within our water distribution system. He is well versed in metering as it has evolved from manual meter reads to OUC's next generation of AMI automated meter reading technologies. He is our staff expert and trainer for large water meter testing, calibration, and replacement. T is our go-to person for troubleshooting communications, leaks, and building-related issues for large water meters. Over the years, T has cultivated great relationships and works extremely well with some of our largest customers such as GOA, Universal, Lowe's Hotels, Orlando Health, and other large commercial customers. T has also received formal training for census large water meter testing and calibration at their manufacturing facility in Uniontown, Pennsylvania, because he wanted to see how their meters are built so that he can troubleshoot them and rebuild them if necessary, which speaks to his dedication to his craft. And finally, whenever there is a large water meter issue or escalation, we count on T to investigate the problem, resolve the problem, and help make the customer happy. In his spare time, he likes to read. He likes to spend time with his family, traveling with his family, mentoring, coaching, training youth, cooking, teaching Bible study, and attending sporting events like basketball and football. So T, congratulations for your 30 years of service. I'm sorry, 20 years of service.
All right, Mr. Adams, you have another?
Yes, I do. I'd like to call Corey Johnson to the front, please.
25 years.
Corey is accompanied by his wife, Suzette, who I'm guessing doesn't want to come up front. Corey has children, Corey Jr., Ashley, Courtney, and David. Corey is celebrating his 25-year anniversary. Corey is responsible for the safe and reliable operations and maintenance of OUC's water distribution system. He provides direct supervision and leadership for the water operations and maintenance department within water distribution, construction, and maintenance. Corey is also responsible for responding to major water system events 24/7. He plays a major role in OUC's cross-connection backflow program, valve audit program, leak detection and pressure monitoring systems, and our fire hydrant audit and inspection program, which helps support the City of Orlando's ISO Level 1 rating. This rating, which has been achieved now for the 10th year in a row, ensures that our residential and commercial customers have first-class fire protection within OUC's service territory. While working full-time here at OUC, Corey went back to school to obtain his associate's degree. He then continued his education and a few years later received his 4-year degree in business management. He did not stop there, however. Because education is so important to him, he continued that journey and ultimately earned his master's degree in business administration. Another achievement that Corey is extremely proud of is helping to develop a program years ago for water technicians to obtain their GED. A high school diploma or GED didn't used to be required, but is now a requirement of OUC in order to obtain a water distribution license. Corey helped to develop a program in partnership with Mid-Florida Tech to help those employees obtain their GED and ultimately pass the water certification test. Corey has earned a reputation of someone who cares about his team and about the success of each person, always willing to listen, highly dedicated to the community, follows through on his commitments, honest, humble, gives credit where credit is due. And lastly, the only questionable thing that I have to share here is that he is a Miami Hurricane football fan. So, you can't be great at everything, right? But Corey's hobbies are attending and being active in his church, voting, community service, a member of Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity, and he loves shooting pool. So Corey, thank you for your 25 years of service. Thanks.
We all do that.
All right, we have one more. Chris, you're going to come. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, President Mills. Today it's my pleasure to introduce Derek Rouse to celebrate his 25 years of service to OUC. Derek, you want to join me up here? Tish, Dominique. Derek is joined today by his wife of, I think I have this right, almost 37 years. Did I get that right? 36? And his son, Dominique. Derek has 4 sons, 1 daughter, 17 grandkids, and several of Derek's family members are here. His daughter-in-law and 2 of the 17 grandkids are here. You want to wave? That's great. Thank you for being here to celebrate Derek. Today we celebrate a remarkable milestone in the career of an extraordinary individual, Derek Rouse, as we commemorate his 25 years of dedicated service to OUC. a journey that began right here in Orlando, where Derek was born, and where he started his career on February 14th, 2000, that's Valentine's Day, 2000, when Derek joined our team as an electrician within the facilities department. And since this is such an important milestone for Derek, I wanted to make sure he had the full picture of him and the value he brings to OUC. So I asked Derek's leadership team what they thought I and we should know about Derek, and don't worry, it's all good stuff. So here's what they said. From the very beginning, Derek showed an unwavering commitment to learning and growth. He didn't just master the electrical trade, he immersed himself in all the various aspects of facilities work. His curiosity, determination, and relentless work ethic made him stand out, earning him well-deserved recognition and promotion. Derek quickly rose to the role of Master Facilities Technician, a position that saw him take on even more responsibilities and showcase his diverse skill set. But Derek's journey didn't stop there. His leadership qualities shone brightly, and it wasn't long before he was promoted again, this time to Facilities Supervisor. In this capacity, Derek led his team with the same passion, integrity, and dedication that he has displayed throughout his career. Derek's work ethic, reliability, and technical expertise have had a lasting impact on OUC, and we've all witnessed his positive influence on those around him. He exemplifies what it means to be a true professional, always putting the team first and tirelessly working to ensure that everything functions as it should, while focusing on OUC's core values and always making safety first. His legacy is one of excellence, teamwork, and service. Derek's journey would not be complete without acknowledging the support and love of his wonderful family. His wife, Tish, has been a constant source of strength and encouragement for him. His mother, Precious, has played a significant role in shaping the person we see today. Derek's sons, Derek Jr., Kieran, Jeremy, and Dominique, and his daughter, Diamond, have been a source of pride and joy. And Derek's 17 grandchildren, no great-grandchildren yet. I mean, one's got to be coming soon. Derek's 17 grandchildren bring much happiness into his life. Derek, in these 25 years, you have not only grown as a technician and a leader, but you have also helped shape the very foundation of OUC's facilities team. Your commitment and contributions are deeply appreciated by all of us. And as we celebrate today in front of your family and fellow coworkers, we not only honor your past achievements, but we look forward to the many more accomplishments and successes that lie ahead. So thank you, Derek, for everything you've done and continue to do. Please join me in congratulating Derek.
All right, we have one more final award. And Mr. Adams, would you come with our community award? Community recognition.
Thank you, President Mills, Commissioners, Mayor Dyer, and Clint. Today, I'm going to share the wonderful news that OUC has once again received the Restoring Communities Award from the Florida Municipal Electric Association, also known as FMEA. This recognition highlights our dedication to mutual aid and community resilience in times of emergencies. OUC has received this honor every year since the awards launched in 2016. The 2024 award underscores OUC's critical support during one of Florida's toughest hurricane seasons. Multiple storms led to OUC teams restoring power safely here in our community, as well as in communities across Florida, South Carolina, and Louisiana. Shown here are just some of the teams who answered the call for help and delivered mutual aid to nearby communities. During Hurricane Debbie, OUC dispatched line technicians and a line truck to help the city of Williston recover. Later, as Hurricanes Helene and Milton caused widespread damage, OUC crews assisted the cities of Gainesville and Williston after Helene. In Gainesville alone, 35,000 of the utility's 100,600 customer accounts were left without power. The sheer volume of downed trees provided additional challenges to the 17-member team as they restored power. Additionally, OUC extended vital aid to Louisiana communities impacted by Hurricane Francine with an additional 17-member team. The award also recognizes OUC's ongoing contributions to strengthening public power infrastructure and improving reliability across the network. I would like to recognize the efforts made by all of our mutual aid teams in support of this recognition. This award is truly a team effort, and it serves as a reminder of OUC's commitment to restoring power and hope when it's needed most. Thank you.
Thank you for recognizing my efforts. All right, we're grateful, thankful. That's a great award and just shows the heart of our people. As we continue now through the agenda, we now move to the affirmative items portion of the agenda. Mr. Bullock Clint, before we consider these, do we have any requests from the public to speak on the affirmative items?
No affirmative items.
No? Okay, if there are no speakers, then do you have any comments or presentations regarding the affirmative items at this time?
No, sir, I do not, unless the commissioners have any questions for me.
Any commissioner comments? All right, well, are there any members?
Move the affirmative items. Move the affirmative items.
It's been properly moved that we confirm the affirmative. Is there a second?
Second.
Properly moved and second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered. Affirmative items A1 through A17 have successfully been approved. We now move into new business. At this point, I show no new business.
That's correct. No new
All right, so we'll move on to presentations. Down to, Chris, you're ready? Go.
Yes,
Mr.
sir.
McCollum.
Good afternoon, President Mills, Commissioners, Mayor Dyer. Good afternoon, Clint. You have the January 2025 interim financials in your board packet. As of January, the 4 months ended our fiscal year. Income before contributions was $34.6 million, which was 5.4 million or 5.4 million higher than budget and 1.7 million lower than in prior years. January was a particularly cold month, so that resulted in higher retail revenues for our customers, but also opportunities for us to sell wholesale power, both in the state and out of state, as much of the country was in a deep cold weather. So we've taken some of those excess revenues that were as a result of the one-time weather cold snap, and we've deferred those to be used for a future date. It could be this year, it could be some point in the future for rate stability. We also have on the screen, this is the latest numbers as of February, and we're only a couple of days into the new fiscal month. So these are our preliminary numbers, and we usually show you just the revenue side. February was warmer than normal, warmer than usual, and warmer than anticipated. So our revenues as of February were ahead of budget a little bit on the retail side and wholesale side, 5.7 million. Water revenues are a little higher than budget as well. It's been pretty dry out there. So both electric and water revenues a little bit ahead of budget as of this point in the fiscal year. So happy to answer any questions you have. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Brown, Chris, do you have any legal issues or report? Oh, thank you, sir. That's always good news. Before we proceed, do we have any members of the public that have requested to address the board? I believe we had one at one point. All right. Can we have that individual come at this time? I didn't see the name on my listing. I have some names that I would like to acknowledge as we find this one here. Yeah, I don't see it. Oh, Mark. Is Mark Eckert here? Mark? Mark? No? Okay. Well, let me acknowledge for the record the following names. We have emails that came in on public comments, all considering water fluoridation from a Mr. Justin Harvey, Patrick Lane, Benjamin Rawl, J.P. Fury, Nicole King, and Donna Lombardi are all individuals I want read into the record that sent us emails concerning public discussion around water fluoride and agenda items. And seeing no other comments from any of the public on our affirmative items and other new business, we'll now move with general manager comments.
Thank you, President Mills. Moving right along. I do have a couple items I would like to share with the board here today. I am going to ask Attila to come up to the podium, and he's going to help facilitate a presentation. Before I turn it over to him, I am going to say just a few words, and I actually have a couple slides, believe it or not, that the team has allowed me to have. But before we get into Attila's presentation, I do feel like the need to tee it up and give a little bit of background, and that's a little bit of my role these days as historian. But the primary presentation is to give you an overview of our path to clean energy. And we're 5 years in to some of the goals that we set, and it really just seemed appropriate to share with the board a variety of different projects that have been completed. Many of them are underway, or some of them are underway, and some are nearing completion as we round out or move into 25, and some will be done in 26. But I wanted to just take the commissioners back a little bit and provide a little bit of foundation of how we got here. And you may remember, we went through a strategic planning process in the 2019, early 2020 timeframe as we went through and laid out our 5-year strategic plan, identified various key performance indicators as we focused on the 3 pillars related to the strategic plan of customers, employee, community. Certainly one of the outcomes was a very specific goal related to net zero CO2 emissions by the year 2050. But we didn't stop there. We set intermittent goals, and we challenged ourselves to make progress by the year 2030 to reduce CO2 emissions by 50% from the baseline year 2005. And by the year 2040, reduce them by 75%. So upon adoption of the board of that plan, we took those goals and we went into the electric integrated resource planning process. That process was more extensive, more in depth than we have ever gone through previously when we have done these types of studies as we look at the generation portfolio and look at different generation technologies, fuel types, et cetera. We took that study out 30 years. So we, in that 2020 timeframe, went out to the year 2050, of course, because that's what we had a goal related to net zero. We worked extensively with community members. We had a 12-member advisory group that we worked with to help facilitate. We did surveys. We worked on receiving feedback around 4 primary attributes: reliability, resiliency, affordability, sustainability. And we allowed the community, we allowed the board to give us that feedback and to help us develop our plan from that standpoint. Certainly the one thing we talked extensively about through that process is it is a balance. It is hard to do all of one category and not the other, and it's a continuous balance as we think about affordability, reliability, sustainability, and resiliency. But I'm very proud of the update that we have here. The team has been working extensively hard over the last 5 years. We're not there, but I want to give you some assurance that we are absolutely on track. We are making some progress, and I hope by the time you see this presentation, you'll feel confident that we are absolutely making progress towards the 2030. So I'm going to start with Attila. Let me go through a couple slides here. Now I am going to turn it over to him, and I'll step aside. The first slide really just on the left really highlights exactly the goal that came out of the strategic planning process in that 2020 timeframe. Of course, we, did the electric integrated resource plan, and those bullets on the right are some of the outcomes. And certainly the initial recommendation talked about reducing coal-fired generation by the 2025 timeframe, and even talked about converting both units 1 and 2 to natural gas. Again, that was the original plan. Accelerating solar and energy storage as we move forward. And then being mindful in future years of just other clean technology, right? We had some wind by wire. We had discussions about small modular reactors at that time, recognizing that in order to get to 2050, you really need technology to advance over those time periods. And we still made a commitment to be competitive with our rates as we think about strategic goals and maintain affordability for our customers. And the one thing that we talked about through this plan, and the moment that we approved it or adopt the plan, we asked the board for continuous flexibility. Things will change in the industry, assumptions in our model we need to be able to review. Technologies will advance and opportunities will present themselves. And commissioners, as you know, no more than 9 months later, next slide please, we were into the board asking for the approval of the project down in Osceola Generation Station, right? Weren't aware of that opportunity when we were doing the study. Just upon completing the study, this opportunity became available. And recognizing our need to advance the amount of solar that we were talking about in our portfolio, the value of this site was significant as a peaker type generating unit. We knew we needed peaker units to help us with the amount of solar we were committing to because of the intermittent nature of these solar projects. We've talked about this to the board, time and time again. We know we're the sunshine state, but we have cloudy days and we have rain, and those clouds and those rains can just clip off the solar instantaneously. And so we know customers like to have their lights on 24/7. We know how important reliability is. So these units became extremely valuable. And because of that, we were able to modify the plan, related to what we were going to do with Stanton 1. This helped us advance our CO2 emissions goal. This helped us address intermittency. And I think the other piece too that we can't undervalue, and as you look towards the top of the slide or the picture there, of the northern part, you see those two tanks essentially, and that's on-site fuel storage. And recognizing as we were moving forward with our plan, we would be reducing our dependency on coal, which is a physical hedge from a fuel standpoint. And as we move away from coal, backup fuel was going to be critical as we increased our dependency on natural gas. This facility has 2 on-site fuel storage tanks, which again made it tremendously valuable. As we move forward, I'm going to turn it over to Attila, and he's going to walk through some progress that we've made on a variety of different projects and infrastructure. He's also going to give an update on some of the opportunities or challenges, depending on how you want to look at it, that we continue to face. And there are challenges that we've talked about with the board. Mike gave an update 9 months ago as it related to the advancements of electrification that we're seeing in the industry, the advancement of onshoring that we're seeing out of the administration and the 2022 bill, the CHIP bill that was approved to try to bring on more onshoring to the U.S. And now more recently, as we've heard more about perhaps where AI is going to go, we're seeing a significant need for our product as we think about electricity moving forward. We talked about the state of Florida and the growth that we're seeing, and even within OUC's service territory, we are continuing to see growth. Ensuring that we have flexibility within our fleet is really important. Some of those challenges that we'll talk about are perhaps direct to us, and some of them we're going to be impacted indirectly based on the industry. We're going to talk about supply chain. We've talked about supply chain before. We talked about patent out transformers a few years ago and how those prices increased 50 to 60%. We've talked about large-scale transformers at the power station, how those prices are going up 70 to 90%. So the supply chain is significant that we're feeling. So Attila's just going to walk you through some of those. And I think it's just really important that we continue to maintain flexibility, maintain optionality as we move into an area of continued uncertainty It's a term I feel like I'm wearing out here recently, but there are certainly a lot of changes that are going on in our industry. And I think it's really important as a utility to maintain that flexibility as we move forward, continue to monitor it as we always have done, while still progressing down the path to meet our 2030 goal, which again, I think we're going to demonstrate here for you today that we are absolutely making progress down that path. So I think with that, Attila, maybe I've covered all my points. I'm gonna back off and let you sort of walk through these slides and certainly address any questions that the commissioners will have for us today. So Attila.
Thank you, Clint, for the great introduction. Commissioners, good afternoon. President Mills, Mayor Dyer, thank you for giving me the opportunity to present. Let's go to the next slide. The path to clean energy involves reducing our overall CO2 emissions and also the carbon intensity of each megawatt hour produced within our generation portfolio. The timeline here highlights many of the noteworthy projects that have unlocked the operational flexibility needed to integrate non-dispatchable resources at meaningful scale into the OUC system. The timeline also highlights prerequisite projects that OUC will need to complete to interconnect future solar and storage projects into our system. Some of the projects here also add capacity and redundancy into our transmission system, while also directly connecting OGS to the OUC transmission system, thereby helping avoid wheeling costs and helping us to maintain affordability and to our customers. When viewed cohesively, these set of projects will also allow OUC to progress to targeted levels of reliability, affordability, sustainability, and resiliency in future years. As you can see here, we've completed a number of critical projects, and we still have several that we're working on currently that are important prerequisites and will allow OUC to remove Stanton Unit 1 for the daily dispatch schedule and from our future reserve margin calculations. One back, please. Critical projects to note here on the timeline that are still prerequisites to the Stanton Unit 1 change include the Bull Creek to Rocky Pond transmission project. So this, again, interconnects OGS directly to OUC transmission. Also the Stanton Alternative Wastewater Project. Also the backup fuel expansion at Indian River. And then also repairing and replacing the OGS Unit 2 step-up generating unit that was damaged last year. Next slide, please. So on this slide, we have a summary of 4 utility scale projects that are fully operational. I want to highlight number 10 and 11. Story Bend Solar Farm and Harmony 2 Solar Farm became commercially operational in December of 2024. So this is a single one-step increase to our renewable generation portfolio mix in OUC's history. It represents 149 megawatts and is significant change to our daily operations, daily dispatch, and meeting our summer peaks. In addition to this, I'm not going to go each project by project, but I will point out that we're working on battery storage, integrating an 8 megawatt hour battery pilot, and really figuring out if this is an area that we can self-perform in the future. We want to get this right. We want to get the battery integrated in our distribution system, integrated into our energy management system, and most importantly, making sure that our operators and our unit dispatch teams understand the purpose of the battery and can utilize it to OUC's benefit. Once that pilot project is complete and we learn the applicable lessons learned, we will determine if we're going to self-perform in the storage space or rely on PPAs. We'll figure out what is a better value proposition for the organization. It will also allow us to scale that, thereby allowing additional solar resources into our system. Next slide. This slide, the previous slide highlighted some of the transmission projects required to interconnect. This is a little bit more power generation specific or dispatchable power generation specific. A little history on OGS and the turbine repair and optimization, which increases the flexibility and reliability of all of the 3 7FA units. Prior to OUC's acquisition of OGS, the site had sat idle for 10 years. The site was previously a merchant plant for Reliant Energy. The merchant mindset is a little bit different than the utility mindset. The merchant units are typically optimized for profit and for short-term market-driven events. Whereas utility and a utility mindset is more about planning for the long term and executing for the long term. Merchant plants are not typically balancing authorities. They don't have retail customers, and they don't have to perform every day, every week, every month in order to meet that load. So they're a little bit more opportunistic. The condition and design of the site reflected that mentality. So OUC has been very deliberate about changing the availability, the reliability, and the performance of those units to match more utility characteristics that we desire as we look to replace Stanton Unit 1 with that unit. Miller Long, the Director of Gas Generation, is nearing retirement here at the end of this month, and he's been made this site rehab as part of his crowning achievement in his career. We're very proud of what he's accomplished at the site, and he feels very good about the progress made and the future reliability and value of the site to OUC. I will say that the units were not abused, but certainly neglected, and it's been a lot of work getting the site up to the condition that we would like it to be. I also want to highlight within this scope of projects, number 6, the Stanton Alternative Wastewater Project. So currently, in order to meet zero liquid discharge compliance site requirements at Stanton, we rely on both units to provide evaporative services for the water and to make sure that no water goes in any stream and off property at the location. So by not relying on Stanton Unit 1 in the future, there are periods of the year where we have significant precipitation, and with that reduced evaporative capabilities of the unit, we require a alternative wastewater project to provide those services. So this project is nearing completion, and we will be performing system startup and getting the chemistry right to ensure that we can rely on that resource going forward. Next slide. So with all those projects and all the projects or all the progress associated with them, this has resulted in a significant change in OUC's utility operations and the fuel mix. As you can see here, in 2019, OUC's solar energy was less than 1%. Coal was 47, natural gas was 46. And as you can see here, the projected 2026 looks vastly different. A significant portion, 10% of our energy will now come from solar. Coal falls from 47% to 14%, and natural gas makes up the difference, signifying the change in operations between Stanton Unit 1 and OGS. Next slide. While we've achieved significant progress, there's many challenges in the utility industry ahead of us. One of them is utility fuel delivery. I'm going to have a couple more slides on this to highlight what is occurring upstream of us and nationally in the fuels landscape. You've probably seen countless articles on accelerated load growth in the industry, driven by onshoring, driven by population growth, driven by electrification, and also hyperscaler AI data centers. We're certainly seeing both national trends change and local trends change on the load front, and I have a couple slides on that as well. In addition to this, the supply chain competitiveness is changing significantly. We as an industry have, outside of Florida, have expected very low load growth for the past 10 or 15 years or so. And much of the load growth has been served by renewable resources, so significant development in solar and wind and storage. As a result of that, the supply chains associated with dispatchable generation have been in a mode of atrophy. And now that that pendulum has swung and load growth is accelerating, Many of the supply chains are ill-equipped to deal with the demands from the utilities. And in addition to that, utilities, maybe not for power generation, but for for additional supplies, control systems, electronics, and everything else associated with construction is very tight and is facing a big hill to climb. Regulatory uncertainty, there's plenty of that as it relates to natural gas supply, natural gas delivery, but also tariffs associated with things like transformers, raw materials, solar panels, raw materials for storage. So certainly many things to watch there, and we're anxiously trying to figure out all the operational impacts to us as a utility and an industry. Physical and cybersecurity threats continue. And then last but not least, the timing and economics of carbon-free generation is evolving and has certainly changed since the original EIRP in 2020. We were anticipating some changes, significant changes in long-duration storage, carbon capture, hydrogen. Some of that anticipation has been met with, failed projects or unsuccessful projects in the space. I would say that the good news is that as a result of the development in the data center world and the hyperscalers, big tech has seemed to concentrated their effort on expanding SMR and nuclear in general. And so therefore, whenever there's a concentration of demand within one technology, the prospects of success begin to increase, and we believe that it is emerging as one of the solutions as we look to the 2040 and 2050 goals within our own portfolio. Next slide, please. So a little bit of annual change here between 2022, 23, and 24, and the additional U.S. summer peak demand by hour. As you can see here, that by the year 2030, there's almost a 70 gig peak increase. So that's over a relatively short time frame. If you go from 2023 to 2030, it's over 100 gigs. To put that in perspective, the total U.S. nuclear generating capacity nationally is 94 gigs. So all the nuclear plants that have been built over a 35-year time frame, it is predicted that the growth will outpace that within a 7-year period. So significant and highlights why some of the supply chain constraints from the purchase and construction of new dispatchable generation is constrained. Next slide. So here more locally to OUC, I think Mike Murtaugh, our CTTO, had a presentation last May of 24, which used 2023 load data to highlight the projected base case and high case for OUC. You can see the pink square line was the 2023 bear case or base case, and the purple dotted line was the high case. After summer of 24, as we do every year, we updated our demand forecast, and now the 2024 base case is higher than last year's high case. So what we see here is an increasing compounded annual growth rate, which doesn't seem significant if you look at it, let's say in interest rate terms or nominal terms. But let me try to paint a different vantage point or a different way of looking at it. I think Albert Einstein labeled compound interest as the 8th wonder of the world. While we're not talking money here, we're talking energy load. It has similar effects on demand growth for our industry. So over the course of the past 10 years, OUC annual total load increased by 800 gigawatts over the course of that tenure. So annual load increased by 800 gigawatts. When you change the compounded interest from 1.5% to 2.3, and we look at the decade ahead, that means that our forecast for the next decade is to increase annual total demand by over 2,000 gigs. So that's significant. That's about the size and profile of a 500 megawatt generating unit over the next decade. So significant changes just in that small compounding impact on total system demand. Next slide. So in addition to that, I mentioned some of the fuel supply concerns. If you look at this chart here, it represents U.S. Liquid natural gas export capacity. In 2016, the United States started adding significant LNG export capacity. And from 2016 to currently, it increased about 10 BCF per day. To put things into perspective, Florida is about 4 BCF per day at system peak. So it's about 2 Floridas worth of gas being exported offshore. But if you look ahead in the next 4 years, that number is slated to increase to almost 25 BCF per day. So the colored names are LNG facilities at Cedar, Port Arthur, Woodbridge, Rio Grande, Golden Pass, Corpus Christi, and Plaquemines. So these are all LNG units coming online. And in addition to this export capacity, there's the impact on the feed gas upstream that is going to supply these LNG facilities. Additionally, if you think of Florida, we're kind of at the tail end of the straw. So there's gas transportation constraints. There's gas transportation projects being built to be able to serve this LNG export capacity. But as the timing of those projects gets built, there will be constraints and volatility both in the feed gas and also the transportation associated with delivery to the LNG sites. So bottom line is LNG development puts upward price pressure on domestic gas prices while having the potential to substantially impact gas transmission system pricing. I think one other component is we look at nationally in balancing our trade deficits. One of the tools being considered is using LNG export contracts and long-term LNG export contracts as a way to balance the national deficit. So that may be a good thing from a national balance or national trade imbalance component, but it's not necessarily good news for us in Florida who are downstream of many of these projects. Next slide. So what does this mean for us? I think our next immediate steps are to complete the prerequisitions for Standard Energy Unit 1. So the combination of the alternative wastewater project, the GSU replacement, and some of the Indian River fuel expansion projects, as well as the interconnection of OGS to the OUC transmission system remain on track. We anticipate the last of the prerequisites being the GSU delivery and installation of March 2026. After that's completed, we anticipate or would like to ensure that we run OGS through its full paces and have both Stanton Unit 1 and all 3 OGS units available for about a 60-day overlap to make sure that we don't have any additional surprises or operational failures at OGS. And then at that point, we can put Unit 1 into extended cold shutdown, which means removing it from daily dispatch, from economic dispatch, and removing it from our 10-year site plan and not counting it to our calculated reserve margins for power generation purposes. In conjunction with this, we've also reviewed a request by minority owners to terminate their co-ownership share of SEC Unit 1. We're going to work with those minority owners to iron out the contractual terms with that and grant them their request to exit the project. Last but not least, I mentioned quite a few industry challenges for us to analyze, contemplate, and plan around within OUC's Integrated Resource Plan. And our intent is to take all those challenges, match them up against our goals, and make a recommendation to this commission as to what our next set of major projects are to ensure that we can meet the 2030 50% reduction in carbon, and also position ourselves for the 2040 target of 75% reduction. So quite a lot of work ahead of us, but I think the team and I are very proud of the progress made on the whole slate of utility scale projects to increase our integration of carbon-free resources into the system and position ourselves to continue down that path. Happy to try to answer any questions you may have.
Anyone have any questions? Thank you.
I will highlight one additional point. Just on that very first bullet, and specifically the sub-bullet, we were working very hard. The team's been working extensively, to get the transmission project done, to bring OGS up. OGS Unit 3, which was the last of the 3 units, was brought up in the December timeframe and up and running. However, again, upon bringing up Unit 2, which is the first unit we brought up shortly after, or not shortly after, but some point after bringing the unit up online, that's when the generator step-up unit did fail. So that's the critical path for March, in fairness. If we didn't have that unit that failed upon bringing the overall generating unit up and running, the schedule would be slightly different. We would have been on track to meet that December 31st, 2025 timeframe. But again, that is sort of the critical path that it's driving that. Again, transmission's done, Unit 1 and 3 are done. And so again, the team has been working incredibly hard to meet this timeframe. A few months off with a 5-year plan. I don't think it's too awfully bad, but I think it's prudent as we continue to move forward, to continue to monitor and keep optionality available as we continue to assess where the industry's going. Look forward to moving forward the electric IRP as we kick it off this summer. We anticipate that'll, take a year, maybe a year and a quarter. So we'll be back revisiting in the, middle of 26, late 26 timeframe. Where do we continue to go as it relates to everything underneath the curve is something we have to review. We're moving towards the reducing CO2 emissions, but how we get there, we have to maintain that flexibility, understand technology change, understand prices changing that are going on. One of the things, as Attila said, we were hopeful that solar prices were going to continue to come down. That was an assumption that we made. We're not seeing that right now, and maybe that'll turn. You have tariffs we're all trying to monitor and see where that goes. So the study will be an important piece to really determine the next steps on where we are headed, as we will need to take additional action to achieve that ultimate 2030. But we're looking forward to that study. I want to commend the team that's been working extremely hard.
Thank you.
Thank you, Attila. Clint, you have 2 more?
Yes, I do. Thank you. Seems like it's been a little bit of a theme here the last couple of meetings, but we have another executive that's going to be, that is retiring, and is their last commission meeting here today. So Mr. Ken Zambito, our Vice President of Transmission, who many of those projects he's been involved with in some form or fashion to get the transmission substation, services available for the solar, the 2 or 4 solar projects, but specifically the 2, as well as getting OGS. And so he's leaving us after 35 years of service. He started June 5th, 1989. I guess we both like to tell this story. We both know each other's service date because we were hired on the same day. He spent his entire career on the operations side, came in as an engineer, and has continued to work his way up. I've had a chance to work with Ken in a variety of different capacities over my career. There was a while in which Ken reported directly to me. Ken, in 2018, was promoted to Vice President of Transmission. reporting to Jan Asper at the time, and currently reports to Attila. Ken's done a lot of great things here in this organization. I will tell you, Ken has always been very supportive to the organization as the organization has made change, as roles have become available. I think we have stretched him at times, maybe made him feel a little uncomfortable, but he's earned those different opportunities. He's got, it's like kind of like that Swiss Army knife. I mean, he really is able to do a variety of different things. Again, I've personally tasked him in a variety of different roles, and then even recently had a chance where he didn't report directly to me, but we were in between our VP of digital technology and asked Ken to step up yet again to help the organization, and so he was our interim VP of digital and technology, while I continue to do his transmission services. So we've certainly had a lot of great conversations, and I will tell you, he's put the company first. He's always supported it, whatever we needed him to do. He's had storm roles that have been extensive. In light here the last couple of years, especially with some of the generation projects or purchase power agreements under solar, so they're not in the capital plan. And so there's been a little bit of a cross on the majority of the dollars in the capital plan have historically been to the power generation side, and Wade and his team. And Ken and I joke about it. I don't know if it's an honor or not, but nonetheless, Ken and the team have moved to, spending a fair amount of dollars for the organization as we talk about transmission resiliency, the 230 expansion down in St. Cloud, the 230 substation line that we'll need here in downtown Orlando, extensive amount of dollars. And that's why I knew it was important to make sure we had a VP in that area with everything going on, not to mention cyber and OT. He's been very involved with several boards representing OUC from FMPP, FMPA, and a variety of other industry boards. I don't know, Ken. I just want to wish you and Carol, a happy and healthy retirement. We're going to miss you. I'm sure I'll see him at a variety of retirement functions, but this is Ken's last board meeting. And I guess one last thing I want to say, I want to, again, publicly say I appreciate Ken's giving us notice, allowing us to plan and prepare for his retirement. And he has done that in grace and professionalism for himself, for his team, for OUC, and I personally appreciate that and want to recognize him for that. And Ken will be retiring here the 1st of April, and we'll wish him well on his way for him and Carol. So I just want to say congratulations, Ken. We'll refrain from talking about football, but Ken and I have we've got a few stories there. So to talk about preparation and planning, OUC was able to move forward. Again, with Ken providing us notice, Attila and team went to work to backfill Ken, as hard as that is. And in the November timeframe, they selected Orlando Alan Castro, who's also in the room, sitting very close to Ken, as they have been transitioning significantly over several months. Orlando has over 20 years experience in the utility industry, started with OUC in 2002. He spent majority of his time on the engineering and planning side. I've had an opportunity to work close with Orlando for a few of these different positions. We gave Orlando a rotational assignment where he had a chance to work in operations for a while. It was a great experience and opportunity, and then for a while he reported to me when I was VP over in operations. Since he's been working for Attila and working as a director of energy services and contract management. So he's a bit of a broader role under the COO, the entire business unit, contract management, finance management support, but he's also led the 2 areas of the lighting program, indoor and outdoor lighting program, and then our EV program. He's been instrumental in leading that. So congratulations to Orlando. Certainly excited to see him in this role. He will be officially moving in, and you'll be seeing some agenda items from him here in the future. So congratulations, Orlando, and he'll be reporting to Attila. And then I failed to mentioned a newcomer a few months ago, so Commissioners, that's on me. But since I'm on the theme of updates, I also want to update and let you know about one of our newer members to the team and to OUC, Jason Busby. He is, don't you raise your hand, Jason, and yeah. He's our new Vice President of Digital and Technology, and he's reporting to Mike Murtaugh, our Chief Transformation Technology Officer. You know, we recognized as we were building the group, the importance of having, a VP of our digital technology and how that group touches everything that we do and enables us. And it's really going to be important as we think about transformation for the organization. Jason has over 30 years of IT and progressive experience in this area. He came from a very large utility in Detroit, DTE. And he's had a variety of IT positions throughout his career, supporting the business services side, supporting operations side of the house. So we're very excited to have him. He's been spending the past several months, understanding the OUC, understanding our strategic plan, understanding the needs of all his different customers. But now him and Mike have worked it out, and Jason's going to be on his own here. And so you'll be seeing Jason's agenda items from Jason as it relates to the digital technology team as they advance the IT roadmap and ensure us as we think about our digital transformation here moving forward. So you'll be seeing agenda items from both Orlando and Jason and none from Ken. So just want to welcome Jason also to the family. It's great to have him aboard. I know Luz and customer service team are just super excited to have that great partnership. We look forward to working with him and seeing him. So I just want to give him a warm welcome too. So Commissioners, that's my update for today. Thank you.
All right, well, let me echo Orlando, congratulations, and Jason, we welcome you. And I know you're going to do a great job coming from Detroit. So you have some supporters, but we're grateful for the meeting thus far. If any commissioners, comments,
For the meeting?
or anything?
Wrapping up, great meeting. Matilda, thank you for the update. It's a crazy time right now. There's a lot going on, so I do appreciate how complicated this is, and that we have to make sure that we're keeping the grid in the right conditions so it's stable. Jason, welcome. I don't think there's anyone left at DTE anymore, so just saying, don't write that down anywhere. No, great meeting overall. Thank you guys very much. And Ken, thank you for everything you've been doing. Orlando, great to be working with you more closely too.
Congratulations to Orlando and welcome aboard. And you're gonna love retirement. It's underrated, so have a great time. And it was a great meeting. Thank you.
I just echo, great meeting, great update. I like optionality. I also like to make sure that if there's any industry that needs belt and suspenders, it's the utility industry. We want to make sure we're ready for everything and can respond to everything, have backup plans, have a lot of optionality. So thank you for the update.
Same. So congratulations and thank you for 35 years of service. Orlando, congratulations on your promotion, and Jason, welcome to the team. Glad to have you. I don't know about that Detroit stuff. But as a 68 Tigers fan, and can still tell you the World Series lineup from that. Clint and Attila, thank you for the update, and I agree with Commissioner Chapin. We need to remain agile. Because the whole lot one, so
Right.
that comes before everything else, but we can still meet our goals.
Okay, well, again, I'd just like to echo what all the commissioners have stated, and I'm really encouraged in our positioning for the future and what you've gone in great detail. And I'm also, let me say this to Ken and others, Mindy and others who have gone on before, I'm really, from an HR perspective, in awe at the heads up and the longevity and transition you all provide as a team. Even though you're leaving, you look out. Chris has given us an excellent lead time before he goes. Mindy allowed a great transition with Chris. Now Ken has trained Orlando internally. And I encourage each and every one of you from a succession planning standpoint, keep doing that. And I'm grateful, Ken, for the longevity and for the time that you provided for us to replace. So thank you all. Well, it's been a great meeting, and it is now 3:07. Without any objection, this meeting is adjourned.